Hello and welcome to Professional Spotlight series. I'm Tanmay Netke and today we are diving into the world of water purification, innovation, and some personal inspiring stories. Joining us is someone who is not just advancing science by publishing research and writing book chapters, but also challenging the norms of academic world in her current role as postdoc researcher. Rhea Verbeke, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. Wow, I felt my heart rate going up in that introduction. Thank you. I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you. We have never met, but I have been following what you have been doing in your career, and I thought you would be a very interesting person to talk to. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you taking some time for doing this. I know you are an adventurous person. You love
Yes.
mountains, biking. What I came across is that you've biked from Belgium to the Turkish-Iranian border and back. What's that about? I must ask, what inspired that journey?
Yeah. So I've been very lucky growing up with my parents who also really enjoyed adventure and traveling. And so me and my sister, we could go along with our mom traveling around the world to go to conferences. And so, yeah, we saw so many different cultures at a very young age. And I think that inspired me throughout my whole life also to be open-minded and to try to understand other cultures,
Mhm,
which is not
mhm,
so easy.
mhm,
I also went to a European school, and I think that also really opened up my world. So we were there with other students from other European countries. So
mhm.
it also opened up to adventure and to different cultures. And then I started studying in Leuven whilst also playing volleyball. So I was a bit locked up in Belgium. I didn't do an Erasmus or anything
Mhm,
because I wanted to be there for my volleyball team. But then actually I went abroad. For
mhm.
my PhD, when I started my PhD, and then the whole adventure level of my life increased quite a lot, up to the point that I then did a PhD, also in four different countries. Then during the PhD, I thought I really have to leave academia for a while, do something crazy, really enjoy life, and not just always work and learn and in the a little bit in the rat race.
Mhm, mhm.
And then I thought, okay, after my PhD, I'm gonna just take a year off. And then with my former boyfriend, we decided to go on a bike trip. And the initial plan was actually to go all the way from Brussels to Lake Baikal, if you know where
Wow.
that is. And yeah, unfortunately, that didn't work out because of COVID and other reasons. But then, yeah, we stopped at the Turkish-Iranian border and then traveled back. So that was about 11,000 kilometers, I think.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
super special experience. Really changed my life because we did it with the tent. So we would sometimes just sleep in nature, or we would knock on people's door and ask if we could sleep there. Or in other countries where there is a lot of hospitality, a
Mm.
lot of generosity, like for example in Turkey, it was just amazing what we received from the people there.
When you listen to news and listen to all this media outlets and say, oh, world, there is war, this, that happening. But
Yeah,
when you actually travel and go around, you realize people are so nice and friendly and warm,
absolutely.
right? And that sounds like a journey that teaches you as much as about yourself, but also about the world around you.
Absolutely. So true. Yeah, I really wish everyone could have such an experience because I think you learn so many things that are not taught at school,
Mhm,
not at university. It's really another way of looking at it. And exactly what you just said, that it makes you look at reality very differently.
mhm,
Because
mhm.
we actually even were in a kind of war zone, but there was no war at all. And so the people
Mm.
were even more happy to see us there because
Right.
yeah, they are disadvantaged from the fact that people think that there is war. So there's no tourism anymore. The income drops. People are in poverty. And then, yeah, suddenly we were there with our bikes. It was just, yeah, I just felt so connected to everyone. The things that divide us are much smaller than the things that unite us.
Speaking about journeys, let's rewind a bit. Tell us about your upbringing. I know you briefly touched upon it. Shaped you to become a researcher. When did that interest trigger in your life?
Good question. So my mom, she's an orthopedic surgeon,
Mhm.
and I always wanted to become a doctor as well. And so I
Uh-huh.
told her that when I was about 16 years old, I think more or less, yeah, when you start thinking about what you actually want to go and study. And I said like, yeah, mom, I want to go and study medicine. And she said, no, you're not going to do that. Because she was a female doctor then in a very difficult field.
Mhm,
She
mhm,
orthopedic surgeon of the spine, a very male dominated field.
mm.
She was actually the third female orthopedic surgeon in Belgium. And
Wow.
so Yeah, so there's a lot of feminism in our family as well, thanks to that. But she said, no, you're not going to study medicine because she just didn't want me to live the same life that she's
Mm,
lived. She had to fight so much for where she is now. And so she said, no, no, bad idea. Go and study engineering or whatever, something else I wanted to
mhm,
do.
mhm.
And actually, to convince me to not go study medicine, she took me with her in the operating room one day to show me what it's like. And she thought that I would be repulsed by it or shocked by it to see an operation like that. But actually, the opposite was true, and I really enjoyed it. So it didn't work out, that plan. But then in the end, yeah, I don't really know why I decided then to not study medicine. I think, I don't know, there's not really a real reason for
Mhm,
it, but at least I loved sciences. I loved sciences at school, all the different sciences. Also, mathematics I loved a lot. But actually, I think it also characterizes me that I love many things because I also really enjoy languages and
mm.
philosophy and history and geography. So, yeah, I'm interested in a very broad area of things, but then especially the sciences, I think triggered me. I think it's so cool when you understand something that you
Yeah.
didn't understood before, and then everything, yeah,
The curiosity
curiosity.
about how the world around us works in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so satisfying, I think, new insights when you
Yeah.
suddenly realize, like, oh, wow, this is how it works. Yeah, and then I studied bioscience engineering, and that was in
Mhm.
Leuven then. So it's called bioscience engineering in Belgium, but it's more like it's actually called bioscience from bio from life. So we have all the
I see.
different sciences inside the engineering curriculum. And then in the masters, you can specify in more like the biology part, more like the chemistry part, physics
Mhm,
part, so
mhm, mhm,
mathematics
mhm.
part, or agricultural part. And then I specialized in the chemistry part. So more like chemical engineering, but I was mostly interested in the nanoscale.
Right.
So then I did, nanomaterials, a lot of material, actually, materials science. And then I got this one course on membranes from my professor, Ivo van Gelekom.
Mhm.
And maybe you know him, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought like, wow, this is amazing. You know, just one filter, a filter with holes in it that can purify water. It's like I couldn't believe that that existed. It's so easy, so easy. The concept is
Yeah.
so easy, but then yeah, now I'm about yeah, in 2024 I actually celebrated my 10th year anniversary in the field of membranes.
Wow. Congrats
So
on
now
that.
thank you, because it's really a passion. It has really become a passion. But now after all those years in research, so my master thesis, PhD, and then now my senior postdoc already, it's like, well, we really don't understand a lot about it.
That's what they say, right? The more you know about something, the more you realize you actually don't know a lot.
Absolutely. It's really shocking. Even now, yeah, because now I also have students that are working with me on the same
Mhm,
topic.
mhm.
And it's like, I think being at ease with knowing you don't know a lot is quite a useful
Scare, yeah.
mm, skill that you can, that you better have in life
Yeah.
because otherwise things go wrong.
I love that. I would like to touch upon something that you brought up, right? The struggle that your mom had in the medical field of being a
Mm.
surgeon. What was your experience like in academia as a female researcher? And you think if at all there is still a gender gap that exists?
So I think I'm gonna give a quite nuanced answer. It's a tricky conversation, right? But so I did experience some sexism in my student life at university. So when I was still a master's student, I did experience it
Mhm,
myself
mhm,
from professors in our faculty, but I wasn't that aware of it when I was
mhm,
doing my
mhm,
master's thesis. Yeah, I think at some point you just think it's normal, and
mhm,
so
mhm,
you don't really investigate. But then during my PhD, I was more aware of it. I was also in a more activistic setting in Belgium at that time, and I became aware of of things that are being seen as normal, which actually
mhm,
shouldn't be seen as
mhm,
normal at
mhm,
all. And then during then my PhD, there were some stories that I heard from other colleagues that I thought were unacceptable, just like condescending remarks or
mhm,
remarks about appearance when you walk past the professor in the hallway, for
mhm,
example, or interactions, let's say
mhm,
interactions which
mhm,
are inappropriate. And then, yeah, I started reading about it. I read a couple of books about it. I informed myself about just generally in society. But then I also started reading about it in academia. And then when you look at
mhm.
the data that is available, it's really terrifying,
Yeah.
even up to a point that male professors get more funding money,
Mm-hmm.
that they are referenced more,
Right.
things like that. Also, then with my mom in the back of my head, I thought, okay, I actually want to do something about this, and that is also why I wrote the preface of my PhD thesis about women in academia.
Wow.
So yeah, it's also online. So if you want, you can have a look at it, because I thought, yeah, it's also up to us to talk about it, right?
Right. Right.
Some people are
Exactly.
not aware of it or think it's normal how things happen.
Yeah.
And then recently, I was also invited at a conference in Ethiopia to speak about it, about women's
Mm-hmm.
excellence in academia, in membrane science more specifically. And then we had a general conversation at the conference. And then it was really clear that there are things that are not equal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That there are things that are expected from us that are maybe not expected from men, and vice versa. I
Yeah.
think it is important though to try and not be too emotional about it, and to
Right.
keep on looking at things rationally. But there, we're really not there yet.
That's so inspiring what you are doing and to make people aware, because one thing is to accept it and just say, okay, this is how it is and that's it, and the other thing is to talk about it, put light on the situation that's there while you were studying in the university and now in academia. And it's quite evident because you see that most of the academic positions are kind of male dominant, and a lot of people are
Yeah.
speaking about this. Things are changing for good. People like you who are fighting for this, which is good. And I think if this keeps going, people start becoming more aware of it, this will
Yeah.
certainly change. So cheers
Mm-hmm.
to
Thank you.
what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's also really a question of how I think a lot could be done. The real danger of that as well is that we don't reach a potential of our society,
Right.
of where our humanness, let's say, where we are right now. Because yeah, if so many people don't feel comfortable, and then especially women, then we lose a really important perspective on
Yeah.
science.
Someone with a great potential to contribute to any field of research can just say, okay, if this is how it is, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
lose fantastic researchers in the field this way, which
Yeah.
is sad.
Absolutely, yeah. The bias that then is present in science because of the gender bias. So basically, the knowledge bias that is a consequence of the gender bias is,
Hmm.
in my
Hmm.
opinion, very alarming, especially seeing the state of the world.
I'm a in general optimistic person, so I
Yeah.
I hope things are going to change with people
Hmm.
like you. So there's always hope.
There is always hope. I really agree on that. I'm luckily also an optimistic person, so we have something in common there. Yeah.
You are not just person focused on external change, you're also big on self development. And
Mm.
what's the recent insight that's
Mm.
made a difference?
That's a tough question. So many insights. I think one that I would like to share is one I got from a course I followed recently, a
Mhm.
couple of months ago, which is a Japanese concept, which is called ikigai.
Mm,
Have you heard about it? You
yes.
heard about it, yeah. And so, yeah, what has been important in my personal development over the past years, I would say, is to do more what I really want to do,
Mm, mhm, mhm.
to really follow my own path, my own way, my own life, basically.
Yeah.
Because I realized a couple of years ago that I actually really wasn't doing that, that I was
Mhm,
so concerned about people, what they were thinking of me, opinions of other people, that you want to fit in, that you want people to look up at you, that you want, that you're basically not living your own life, but that you're doing so many things to be approved.
mm. You need the external validation rather than
Exactly.
intrinsic.
Exactly. Yeah, the external validation. And I realized, it's a long time ago now, but I realized that that was basically dominating my life.
Mm,
And then I thought, whoa, this is not the life I want to live. You only have
yeah.
one. And so then I thought, how am I going to change this? Because,
Mm,
yeah, if you're doing everything to be loved or to be approved of or to be validated, then yeah, who are you then, right? What is
yeah.
it? Yeah, what is it? What is your driving force? What is it you want to do? Who
Right.
is it that you are then? And so then a very long journey started that basically coincided with me starting my PhD, and then I went abroad for that. The
Mhm,
first part was then in Spain, I then quit my volleyball career, and so suddenly a lot of time freed up. So I had time to start reading, to listen to podcasts, to do courses like this. And then, yeah, really a whole new world opened up for me.
Doing things with purpose, right? That's the concept of ikigai, that you do something with purpose, and this purpose is driven by your internal motivation or something
Yeah.
that's really about you rather than pleasing others.
Exactly, exactly. And then, yeah, so now I mean, it's a lifelong journey, right?
Yeah,
Knowing
yeah.
exactly what you want to do. But I think now it's becoming more and more clear. And thanks to that, thanks to the inner work I've been doing over the past years, I feel so much more energized. I have
Hmm.
much more energy to give to the world and to contribute. Um, and I also see things clearer.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can now much better feel whether I'm doing something because I have to do it. I mean, have to based from external point of view,
Right.
or have to because I think I have to do it, and whether or rather that I want to do something, and that is so freeing.
Yeah. Do you have a recent example of such an experience?
One of the biggest changes that is occurring now in my life that is really related to being on my own path is that I recently decided to try and commercialize the membranes that I've been developing over
Mm.
the past years
Hmm. Hmm.
into a
Hmm.
commercial entity so that I could actually yeah, really contribute in a very
Hmm.
tangible,
Hmm.
concrete
Hmm.
way to society. And many people in academia think that's not a good idea because my career has taken me on this journey in which I would be quite apt to become a professor at some
Hmm.
point.
Hmm.
But it's not what my heart is calling for. I
Hmm.
don't think
Hmm.
I can have the biggest impact by becoming a professor at this
Hmm.
moment. I don't know what the future will bring. And so deciding myself to wanting to launch a company and to really try to commercialize those membranes is something I really want to do.
Hmm.
I don't get a lot of external validation about it. Actually, the opposite. It's more like resistance from my environment, or at least academic environment. And so that is, yeah, I just feel that that is what I want to do.
Wow, I love it. Love it.
Mm.
I can only wish you good luck on that,
Thank you.
and I'm sure you will do well. Let's shift gears to your work since
Hmm.
you brought up
Yeah.
membranes. Your expertise spans from water purification, membrane synthesis, and recently to epoxy chemistry, the epoxy membranes that you have been working on. What caught your eye in your decade-long work on epoxy membranes? Can you tell us more on about that and why you are so convinced that they are such a game changer?
Yeah, so actually, this whole journey started for me about 10 years ago, maybe a bit less, that I really started working with epoxy membranes, maybe 8 years ago now. So two other people were working on this novel concept in membrane technology, and the idea actually came from the pitfalls that our current membranes have right now. So
Mhm,
some of them are not so robust.
mhm,
So they
mhm,
degrade when you use cleaning cleaning agents, or when you want to operate in acids or caustic conditions, or yeah, in general, they're just not very chemically
mhm,
stable. They would
mhm,
degrade if you would put them in those conditions. And so back then, the group in Leuven had the idea to use epoxide chemistry.
mhm,
So that is a chemistry that is used in very large quantities, for example, in the flooring industry. I
mhm.
don't know where you're sitting right now, but there is definitely something epoxy related that
True,
you can see
true.
from your desk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so also used for coating, for example, on wind
Mhm,
turbines or in cars, or cans, food cans, etc. And that is because it's so robust. So
mhm,
it's mechanically very robust, thermally very robust, and also chemically very robust. And then we thought, whoa, if that is an intrinsic material property, can we then not also transfer that to a membrane?
mm.
Because then that would mean that the membrane would be as robust as the chemistry, right?
Right.
And then a long, long research journey started, because that proved very challenging to
Mhm,
translate the properties from those bulk chemicals, the floors, let's say, if we just call it
mhm,
floors, epoxy resins, glues, whatever, to a membrane.
mhm,
It's a very big materials challenge to go from the one to the other and still have a membrane that has the good mechanical properties, but also the good performance, right? And
mhm,
then
mhm.
also the stability.
Right.
And so now we are there, more or less. After so many years of research, we can make gas separation membranes, and we can make water purification membranes, and we can make solvent purification membranes. And those membranes are stable in basically all conditions. So we
Wow.
can go to pH 0, we can go to pH 14. All oxidants resist the membrane, or the membrane resists all oxidants. We see it as a kind of platform that we've
Mhm.
developed. So instead of the conventional polymers that are used, we can now add epoxies to that list, and we can make the different types of membranes as well. So depending on the application, you use a different type of membrane, a thicker one or a thinner one, or I
Mhm.
don't know in how much detail you want me to go, but um, depending. Yeah, and now we can use three different types of membranes, and we can tune it very easily. And I think that is also really something that is worth mentioning, because these epoxies, they are produced in very large scale, and you have hundreds of them.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
also the curing agents, or the other component we add to start the polymerization and to make this cross-linked network, there are also so many available.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
can really tune the membrane how you want to tune it for the specific application. And that is an advantage that you not always have with any other chemistry.
Right. Oh, that's really great because this could potentially cover so many applications. One thing that comes to my mind is membrane distillation, for example, right? Where you're using very high temperatures and
Or also extreme pH conditions, because actually there's a real demand from the market there to, for example, purify wastewaters from the mining industry. So they use
Mhm.
acids there
Mhm.
to leach the metals out of the ores. The wastewater is very acidic, and now the membranes degrade, or they don't have a good performance enough. And so as a consequence, sometimes the acids are just leached into the environments, and then
Mhm.
you have massive deterioration of the entire ecosystem. And so, yeah, our membranes could provide a solution for that.
It sounds like these membranes have the potential to revolutionize in general the purification industry, and you want to be part of this revolution and bring them to the market. What's most challenging part right now? Is it
Mhm.
market demand? Is it upscaling part? What's your experience?
So we haven't even started yet. So the company doesn't exist yet, but we're
Mhm.
in the final stage of launching it. And it has been a lot of challenges already, and the
Mhm.
company isn't there yet. So the first challenge that we encountered was to convince the people at university that it's worth taking this out of university and commercializing it. I think there is this tendency now in universities to keep on, or I don't know if it's now or if it has always been like that, but to keep it inside the university
Mhm.
walls. And I think, be okay with that, but not provided the state of the world. I really feel the
Mhm.
urgency of the crisis we are in, the planetary crisis we are in. And I thought, and I still think, I'm convinced that we can do it faster if we take it out of the university.
Mhm.
So already convincing all the people there, that was not easy. And then you realize that you also really need other skills than just the scientific ones,
Yeah.
because having conversations in a non-violent way, in a pleasant way, that you try to understand the other person, try to understand what's the agenda of everyone at the table, it requires a vastly different skill set than being a researcher in the lab and writing articles.
Uh,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then another big challenge, of course, is finding money. Because you have to, yeah, it's a very big capital investment that we're gonna make to buy our own production lines. And yeah, we're talking about production lines of about 8 meters long.
Mhm.
So the capital investment is huge.
Mhm. Mhm.
According to our financial plans now, over the next 5 years, we would need around 5 million euros.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, it's not a small project. And then the third problem challenge definitely is upscaling. So how do
Mhm.
you make
Mhm.
a membrane from, let's say, smartphone size to a fully roll-to-roll automatic
Mhm.
production? And then many engineering problems arise that we are still figuring out at the moment.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and last but not least, I think, and that is really what is forgotten in university, in the academic setting, it's not because you have a good product that you have a good business.
Right.
Yeah. So we always think, okay, super, the membranes are there. We will find an end user. We will find the customer who would want to implement our membranes, but not at all true. And that is
Mhm.
really a
Mhm.
mistake that many engineers or scientists, researchers make. They think, okay, we have the product, people will come to us, but that's not true at all. And I actually have a very good example of that because at some point in my PhD, I did an internship at the Dow Chemical Company, now DuPont. And they said that there was a need for chlorine-resistant membranes so that they could be used with chlorine. And I thought, okay, good. Let's have that as my challenge then. So we developed these membranes, these epoxy membranes. They are chlorine resistant. So now they're there. Okay, they don't have the excellent salt rejecting capacity as the conventional desalination membranes, but still for some of the applications, they are performing equally. No market.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's like, I don't understand. They said if you would make these membranes, a whole new market would open up. But now by investigating it in detail, they actually don't want that. Right? It's just that they make more profit if they if their membranes degrade because of chlorine, then they can sell more. It gives me a bit of not disappointment. Yeah, if maybe some type of disappointment. It's like, what if it's not going to be implemented in the market? Why are so many people researching it? And I think that gap between academia and industry is so big, really worth covering, because so much research is being done, great research, really so many brilliant people at universities. But then what is the actual contribution of it? And especially, I'm not talking about the more fundamental sciences where we're really looking for deep insights into mechanisms or like the hardcore sciences. I'm more talking about the applied sciences who are there to be applied, right? So why are we doing all that research if it's not being applied eventually?
That could be disheartening.
Yeah, and I think that is also where I want to show that it is possible to bring a product to the market. Sometimes I have the feeling that we think that everything's going just fine. Oh, we can just research this and research that, and oh, what would this effect be? But I really have the big sense of urgency where I think maybe we should align what we're doing more to what is needed in the world.
Yeah, to bridge this gap, but at the same time, you're doing a lot of research, but how much of it is tangible? Meaning, how can it be actually translated to something that's need of the world? In this case, you can see this gap and you can see some light at the end of the tunnel. So people will be able to buy these membranes.
Yeah,
So
I really hope so. I think maybe that is also what I was missing a bit in academia, the contribution. And many people contradict me on this because they say, Rhea, you've already contributed so much. And it's true. I mean, objectively, I can see why they are saying it, but I don't experience it that way. And I think that then again comes back to what I was saying about the inner work, that it's important to put that validation externally, but have it internally. And for me, it didn't feel right to stay on that path. So knowing or thinking that I will be able to make a bigger contribution outside of academia now is very freeing to me and very motivating.
I love this
Thank
attitude.
you.
I'd like to talk about the open membrane database that you co-founded. As someone who's worked in the membrane field, I can only imagine how much easier it would have made my life back then. A resource like this combining membrane properties and its performance is such a useful tool for both researchers and industry professions. So how did this idea come about?
Yeah. So this idea was actually born out of frustration in my own PhD. Because back then I was doing a lot of comparison. So the membranes that I made, and I wanted to compare them with the state of the art. And then the data is so scattered in even inside an article, but also over many different journals. Often you don't even know how it was measured. There's no details about the measurement techniques. I thought, this is such a hassle. It takes so much time. And all the other poor PhD students in the world, they have to go through this as well. I thought this is just so an inefficient way of doing science that I thought, no, we can do this differently. And back then, I was also involved in the MOF research, metal organic frameworks, and then also in zeolites and those fields of science. They have their own databases. And so then I partnered up with a colleague who was also who was working in the MOF field, and so we put our brains together and we then started the open membrane database. First, we did it for reverse osmosis because that was my field of expertise during my PhD, and so we gathered a team together of students and professors to build a database with the properties and to scan through a lot of literature and put the data inside the portal, the online portal. And then we always thought, okay, we wanted to be crowdsourced and crowdfunded. So we thought, okay, if we are putting all these data onto the OMD, then people can use it. And let's say as a thank you to support the initiative, they will then upload their own data.
Right.
So that was the initial thought, that it would be a self-sustained database. But then we had a good reality check because that didn't happen. People were not uploading their own data, which was very disheartening because I thought, wow, so opportunistic, no, to just use what is there but not contribute. And then, I had many conversations with people in the field, with people at university, our own research group, and then I wrote this paper about it, this opinion piece about it in Nature Water. Because I realized that it was not only due to the individual, it was actually also because of the pillars on which academia is built nowadays, that you are not rewarded at all for contributing to the field. That was my activistic contribution to the field, of which I'm actually quite proud because that's something I'm experiencing quite a lot, that I think, wow, why is this still so traditional? Why are so many people experiencing so much stress and pressure and the deadlines to publish and the publication pressure? And I just think it really goes at the expense of the quality of our research and also on pushing the field forward. Because if you would imagine everyone contributing, I mean, I'm just taking the OMD as an example, but if we would see academic research more as a community effort than as an individual or a group effort inside one research group, I think so many beautiful things could come out of there.
Right.
And so then with the OMD, the idea is to make it a membrane data hub. So we have expanded it in the last year to solvent-resistant nanofiltration or organic solvent nanofiltration, which is another type of membrane technology operating in organic solvents. And now we are also expanding it to hollow fibers and also to gas separation.
Wow.
And the idea is in the end to have it there for all membrane technology. So also ultrafiltration, nanofiltration, microfiltration, ion exchange, per-evaporation, membrane distillation, so many other.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I'm certain that it's going to be very useful.
Yeah. But I think it is actually useful because we can see it on our counters, how many people visit the OMD every week. And the paper is published, or the two papers now are referenced to quite a lot. And when I go and speak about it at conferences with the team that has built it, then the people we speak to are very, very optimistic, very enthusiastic that this is a great initiative.
That's encouraging to hear.
Yeah. It's just that people have to contribute because otherwise it's not sustainable.
Through this podcast, we can spread the word about this.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think for me also the driving force of it was again the contribution, contribute to society and not only contribute to in between the academic walls. I think that has been a frustration of mine over the past years that, it's so narrow. It's not only in between, like the paywalls. I think it really makes me super angry.
I admire your vision to blend technological solutions with societal change.
But myself, I'm not at all convinced that technology is going to save the world. I wouldn't even say I'm a tech optimist. I believe that technology can play a role, but that's all that it can do. It's not going to save us. It's not going to solve today's problems. It can help contribute, solve them. I think actually much bigger gains can be made on a societal human level to stimulate behavioral change, to educate people, to change our habits, to change the system. Really, I think a lot could be, a lot of the problems could be solved by changing the economic system in which we are operating right now. And that is then also one of the things I would really want to do through the spin-off company to take up a more public role and talk about this, to talk about the behavioral change that is needed to solve today's problems hand in hand with technology, but not technology that it's like it's become a new god, that people just believe that it's going to solve it. But
prime example which everyone can relate to in today's world is artificial intelligence, right? It's the technology which is changing a lot of people's life and has so much potential, but companies can use that to gain lots and lots of profits, but that's not the role of the technology, right? The real goal
Yeah.
of the technology should be how it can go hand in hand and benefit the society at large to make this world a
Mm.
better place. And that requires cultural shift,
Yeah.
mindset change. And this is absolutely necessary for any
Yeah.
technology for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. And so having realized that, that was actually a quite big moment in my life, I think, because I'm an engineer, you know.
Mhm.
I've been bathed in technology. And then I was like, yeah, I felt a bit lost at some point because I thought, yeah, I'm actually not so convinced that this is going to make the world a better place.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
realizing that, but then, yeah, of course, I also have my skill set, you know. I've been doing this research for so many years, and how can I then blend my personal vision with the skill set that I've acquired so far? And honestly, knowing if I would have to do the spin-off company with the membranes without having the behavioral change aspect or more like the activistic part, I don't think I could do it because
Mm.
it's not who I am.
That's not
Yeah.
the right motivation then for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm also trying to educate myself a bit on that because how can you be that example then? How can
Mhm.
you motivate people to change their behavior? How can you
Mhm.
change
Mhm.
politicians' desire
Yeah,
to make more
yeah,
profit or all the lobbying that's going on? How
right.
can we actually make that change in the people themselves? And yeah, there's a lot of psychology behind it, a lot of conversational techniques that can be used, a lot of research that has also gone into there. And so I'm quite
Yeah.
passionate about learning more about that and then trying to use that in a communication in the next years.
It also fascinates me, and that's one thing that led me to leave academia and go into the industry, because like the commercial world, because it's not just about profits, earning money, but it's also about influencing people to do the right thing, negotiation, and the psychology behind it. I just find it fascinating as well.
You can come and sell our membranes.
So let's have some fun and switch gears with rapid fire. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, tell me.
What's one thing about water purification that most people get wrong?
That water is not everywhere the same, I
Hmm.
think.
Okay. One person who you would like to have on your podcast.
Oh, I think I don't know the name of the person who has done this research, but I would love to interview a person who has quantified the different forms of water over the past millennia.
If this person is listening to this, please get in touch with Rhea.
Thank you.
One habit or mindset that keeps you motivated every day.
Baby steps every day.
It's
Wow.
each drop that matters. An advice you would give to 18-year-old self.
You are enough.
That's a strong advice. And an advice you would give to young researchers today.
Follow your passion.
That's great. And the final one change that you would like to see in academia.
Research that would have a more direct contribution to the world.
Great answers. That
Thank
was
you.
fun, and that was
Yeah, that
very
was cool.
one one of the quickest guests to answer rapid fire questions.
You said rapid, so I had to do it rapidly, right?
People still take time, so you're quite good. Let's move on to another fun segment, which I call Myth Buster. So I will
Okay.
tell you one big misconception that people have, and you need to help me clarify if it is true, or if it's not true, and why. The myth is that working in academia after PhD is a dead end job. And the reason
Oh.
I bring this up is because you read right now that there's a general trend that people after PhD don't want to stay in academia, they go into the industry. So I would love to hear your opinion on this.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's quite sad what the phrase. So I really don't agree. I really don't agree. I think making the step from PhD to postdoc is quite a big step in someone's career. You basically decide then when you want to go into academia or if you want to go into industry, but I think it's really ridiculous. I don't agree with that at all. I think you acquire many skills that are very useful as a postdoc that can also be beneficial for industrial companies. And I actually regret it a bit that it is seen like that. That
Mm,
at the end of your PhD, suddenly there is so much pressure on the students to decide whether they want to stay in academia or if they want to go into industry. And I think that really sometimes messes up what they really want to do.
mm,
I really regret that. And I think also it's up to the universities to provide the right support that people are actually interested in doing a postdoc, because these contracts, I'm very lucky in Belgium, but in many other countries in the world, it's a 1 year contract. You're never sure where you'll be next year. For many women, it's a time where they would want to have kids. So it's a very unpredictable situation that you just can't tolerate at that moment in your life. So I think there's also a lot that can be done to support women as postdocs then. But also for men, the salary gap is just huge. It's so I think there the system could also provide the right incentives to stay or to leave. And I think that now many brilliant minds who could really contribute something to the academic world are leaving because, the conditions of staying in academia are just way worse.
I see you brought up some good points, which is not just to do with the individual doing PhD who has to take this decision, but the system around should support it in a way that postdoc doesn't seem like potentially become dead end, but rather it's an additional platform that you can have to take some time to decide.
Yeah, and I think also maybe what I'd like to add is that if you're going to do a postdoc, really look for the group where you're going to do it and have a look at the responsibilities that you're getting there. Because if it's just a version 2 of a PhD, then don't do it, because then you can just do another PhD. I think you also have to, as a postdoc, have to have more responsibility, maybe do some financial planning, or at least take care of the financial aspect, have more students that you can supervise, also be corresponding author on some of the articles. It has to be worth it, right? Because if you're just going to do a second PhD, then why do a postdoc?
No, that's a good point. Some sort of upskilling should happen. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's wrap things up. The podcast is called Professional Spotlight Series. And the last question I usually ask is, what are the 3 spotlights that you would like to put on your journey so far? One in the past, one in the present, and one that you would like to see in the future ahead.
I think in the past it would be my academic journey so far. And what I really want to put in the spotlight there is the interdisciplinary approach that I took there. So I was a bit in industry. I was at the bioscience engineering department, physics department, environmental engineering department, and also chemistry department. And I think being in all those different departments has really taught me a lot about the science, and by looking at the membranes from many different perspectives, but it has also taught me how to communicate with different people. Because you can really see personalities change when you compare, for example, people studying physics or environmental engineering. It's really not the same type of person you're speaking to. The importance of being able to communicate about your findings in different languages, and I don't mean different languages like English, French, or Dutch, but all in English. I mean, across disciplines is really useful skill that I had to learn, but I'm quite grateful that I did that. And the interdisciplinary approach, in my opinion, is really the way forward. Our world has evolved at such a speed, and everything is so interconnected that I think we can, it has to be interdisciplinary. And at the same time, every time I say interdisciplinary, it's as if I'm not so happy with that word, actually, because the disciplines were created by humans. In the end, it's the world that we are observing. We just say that this is physics, that this is chemistry, that this is mathematics, that this is engineering, but it's just a human construct, right? So if we reapply how it's actually done in nature, just the natural world, it's such a holistic approach. So maybe interdisciplinary is not the right word. It's all connected. The holistic approach of my research career so far is something I appreciate. And then you said one now? Definitely the students I'm working with. Inside the group of Ivo van Kelekom, so my principal investigator, I'm leading the epoxide subgroup, and there are a couple of PhD students and a couple of master's students in the group now doing research on the membranes, and I get so much back from them. It's super rewarding for me to work with them and to see them grow as individuals and as researchers, and to see so much data that they gather every week, and all the months, all the weekly or monthly updates that we do. I feel more proud when I see them doing their research and getting the results, and than I think I ever did with my own PhD. So that is a very rewarding
That's
experience for me to be supervising them.
that's lovely to hear.
So what's next for me? I did the spotlight is definitely there on the commercial aspect of the
Right.
membranes, launching the spin-off, trying to get those membranes on the market. But I think we've talked enough about that, so I
Right.
won't elaborate on it. But really, the desire to contribute to a better
To this.
place with
Hmm.
and resist if you don't agree. Resist with a smile on your face, but resist if you don't agree, and try to put your energy into making this world a better place.
I love it. This has been such an inspiring conversation. Your passion for creating positive change, whether through epoxy membranes or fostering a societal shift, is nothing short of incredible. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. Before we
Thank you.
sign off, where can your listeners follow your work, connect with you, or listen to your podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast you can find in both on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. So it's called Smart Water Solutions. I'm doing this with a colleague, Hakim. He's doing the industrial episodes alone, and then we're doing the academic episodes together.
Mhm.
You can also follow me on LinkedIn. It's actually one of the things I want to change in 2025 to be a bit more active on that platform. So it's good that I've said this out loud now. Now I have to do it. But also, you can always send me an email. And then my academic research can be found mostly on my Google Scholar profile. And please, please, please just send me an email if you want to read an article. I'm very angry at those paywalls. So I very gladly share you my work via email or whichever other channel.
Perfect. I will share these things in the description of this podcast.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhea. This was amazing to sit down with you and have a conversation. It was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you so much to you as well for doing this and for the very safe atmosphere that you create in your podcast. Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Unboxing Stories Professional Spotlight Series. I hope you found today's discussion as inspiring and insightful as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback keeps our passion alive and helps us reach more incredible listeners like you. Thanks for listening. I'm Tanmay, and I look forward to having you join us again for our next episode, where we will feature another fascinating professional. Until then, keep striving, keep thriving, and keep unboxing your story. Until then, goodbye.